welcome back to another exciting and fact-filled video from PicoCluster.com. Today we're going to be unboxing the Pine64. So for those of you not familiar with the Pine64, they did a Kickstarter project towards the end of 2015 and into early 2016. I think they were originally looking for $20,000 to $30,000. They ended up raising, I think it was 1.7 or $1.8 million from about 35 or 36,000 customers. So the project was extremely successful, far more successful than they really kind of planned on. They had a few hiccups in fulfillment, but honestly, considering the number of devices that they ended up shipping, I think they did a rather fantastic job, considering some Kickstarters don't fulfill for a year or more. I think they had everything shipped, or just about everything shipped, within about 6 months. So I think that's pretty amazing, and kudos to the Pine64 guys. So in case you don't know what Pine64 stands for, so of course with the Raspberry Pi you have a play on the mathematical term pi and the food term pie, P-I-E. So it's kind of a fun little play there that a lot of people like. And so Pine64 tried to stay in that same vein. So of course Pi is the mathematical term pi. NE, I believe, stands for the Newton-Euler formulas that were developed. So that gives you Pi and NE. And then 64 is because it's a 64-bit ARM CPU core that's in there. So Pi, NE, and 64 give you Pine64, and they're kind of cool little logo. So taking a look here, this is kind of a fun little box. Let's go ahead and open it up here. A little bit different than some of the other boxes some of these boards come in with, but still pretty plain. Comes with our anti-static packaging, which is something we definitely want to see. So let's take a look at the board here. So the main chip here, the SoC, the system on a chip, is made by Allwinner. Allwinner A64 chip here. So Allwinner is very popular for their very low cost SoCs that are used in, I know they're used in a lot of tablets and similar kinds of devices. So most everything that you need, the 4 CPU cores and the GPU core and a bunch of other support circuitry are already built into the SoC. So about all it needs is some memory and a few other resistors and such, and you're kind of ready to go there. So so kind of a cool board. It's a good sized board. It's a lot bigger than like the Raspberry Pi or similar boards to that. So it gives you room to kind of do some interesting things here that you can't necessarily do. So at the top of the board here we have, well, you can see the board revision A64 2G Rev B. So this is a 2 gigabyte version. They come in 512 megabyte, 1 gigabyte, and 2 gigabyte versions. So we've got 2 gigabyte boards here. And also at the top you see it says Pi 2 bus. So that's the ubiquitous Raspberry Pi bus. And it's nice to kind of have that because it gives you the standard electrical and physical connectivity of the Raspberry Pi bus. Software is kind of a different matter, but at least you've got, well, in some of the physical layout, but at least you've got the bus there, so you've got pin compatibility. At the bottom here we have the Euler bus, after the mathematician, I should say, there. And there's another kind of expansion bus here on the side, and then over here towards we call maybe the front of the board is another bus here that they have, expansion bus that have a lot of other boards that kind of plug in there and can stack. We'll show you one of those in a minute. So we've got 2 USB ports here, and this audio jack that's on the front of the board here, along with some LEDs so you can see what's going on. And on the back of the board we have a gigabit network port here, and your HDMI port, along with a micro USB port for powering the board. Again, as far as chips, we've got the A64 chip, we've got 2 memory chips here on the front, There's actually 2 more memory chips on the back on the 2 gigabyte version here. It's not a lot going on the back. Another sticker talking about what version of the board this is and some other certifications. Not really sure what this chip is supposed to be here. I didn't see any documentation on it before the video. So yeah, pretty neat layout here, pretty nice board, well put together, well designed. It's got ports for camera interface similar to the Raspberry Pi, as well as a DisplayPort interface for LED boards and such. It actually has onboard circuitry to support a battery pack, which I think is what these ones are up here. Real-time clock built in, which is kind of cool. So as far as capability, so it has 4 ARM A3 CPU cores running at 1.2 gigahertz, so essentially the same as Raspberry Pi. 2 gigabytes of DDR3 memory on board as well. It has a Mali 400 MP2 GPU core running at 500 megahertz. So they claim that that's capable of graphics levels that are a little bit better than the original Xbox, so that's kind of neat. OpenGL ES hardware accelerated graphics. Another cool thing about this GPU core is it's capable of 4K video at 30 frames per second. Also supports 1080p at 60 frames per second, so it supports both H.264 and H.265, so that's kind of a good thing there. So it supports a full 64-bit OS, similar to the Odroids. The Raspberry Pi is still running on a 32-bit OS, so that may or may not make a difference to you. It just sort of depends on what you want to be able to do with the board. So I have a 1 gigabyte board here, just to give you a little bit of a comparison. Pull out here so you can see both of the boards, orient them the same. So the 1 gigabyte board here is actually a very early production version, so it's a little bit different. But the layout, the layout is all the same on both of these boards. One of the biggest things you'll notice is that on the back of the board there are no memory chips. Of course, the sticker says 1G there, and then on the front here, this particular one says a 64 dB Rev 2. So, like I said, this was an early version of the board here. The memory chips are a little bit different on the front, but otherwise the layout is the same. So, pretty neat board. It's a large board. So the physical size may not be what some people really want. The cost is really good. Pine64 is really trying to come in as a cost leader in this segment, especially with the capability. So this here is a little expansion board, and this is a Wi-Fi board. So where the Raspberry Pi 3 comes with Wi-Fi built in now, the Pine64 does not, and so this is where our little bus comes in here at the bottom. So I don't know if you could see very well, but these two pin headers are offset from each other, so different size and offset, so that you can't get them mixed up. And so it goes on basically like that. So there you go, one press and you've got now Wi-Fi. I think the Wi-Fi board here is about $10. So that brings it up pretty much cost parity with what the Raspberry Pi is with Wi-Fi. So there you go, Pine64, cool little board. We're going to be using this a lot here at PicoCluster. We'll have some specs and clusters and performance metrics for you. So thanks for watching. Please be sure to check out the website and the other videos that we have online. Thanks.